Hey everybody, welcome to Undrallio's Backlog, Dear Esther, Chapter 4. Thanks for joining us for the final part. If you haven't watched parts 1 through 3, go watch those right now. You'll be very confused, because this part gets weird. God damn it. What? Oh, the music. If you can if you have a computer that can run this, go play it. If there's no sale, it's $10 on Steam, but, I mean, just last Thursday Steam had it for $3.
I sat here and watched two jets carve parallel white lines into the sky. They charted their course, and I followed them for 21 minutes until they turned off near Sanford and were lost. If I were a gull, I would abandon my nest and join them. I would starve my brain of oxygen and suffer delusions of transcendence. I would tear the bottom from my boat and sail across the motorways until I reached this island once again.
Two white lines cutting parallel in the sky. Very reminiscent of the two parallel white lines in the cliffs. Now, who would have lit these candles? They haven't been lit that long, or else they wouldn't exist anymore. What is that? What's over there? Chapter 4 is the greatest chapter, but it can't be truly experienced unless you've gone through the other three. It's meaningless otherwise. You need the build-up that chapters 1 through 3 give you. That rise, that ascension. A single candle at the end of the dock. Allegory, a metaphor, the narrator. I've never seen a moon so beautiful. The one that I'm seeing right now. Where'd the beacon go? There it is. Our ultimate destination.
I returned home with a pocket full of stolen ash. Half of it fell out of my coat and vanished into the car's upholstery. But the rest I carefully stowed away in a box I kept in a drawer by the side of my bed. It was never intended as a meaningful act, but over the years it became a kind of talisman. I'd sit still, quite still for hours, just holding the diminishing powder in my palm and noting its smoothness. In time we will all be worn down into granules, washed into the sea and dispersed.
Depressing thought, but an accurate one nonetheless. And somebody made the effort to come to the end of this cave, to write out that piece, to light those candles, to illuminate that wall, and that picture. A man standing in front of a house, a cabin. It's difficult to tell. But meaningful. So meaningful. We're following the candles now. Whereas only the island guided us, now something greater is. Or something less great. again, that was real chills. Now one may think, what's the significance of some wheels and an axle? But again, the car crash. Paying reverence to a terrible tragedy. Which, again, causes us to rethink.
There were chemical diagrams on the posters on the walls on the waiting room. It seemed appropriate at the time. Still life abstractions of the processes which had already begun to break down your nerves and your muscles in the next room. I crammed diazepam as I once crammed for chemistry examinations. I am revising my options for a long and happy life.
So if there were chemical equations on the walls, around, shown, want to be out by the sea, heaven from, light from heaven, shone around me. So here we learn again, the chemical equations were hanging on the walls of the emergency room, or the waiting room, where we can imagine that the narrator was waiting for Esther to learn if she'd survive or not. These candles, with the portraits, with the car tires, with the axes, I can only assume were lit by us. Fallen seabirds, a small clip. The music causes chills on the spine yet again.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
Okay, well I'd said earlier there were 30, but apparently there were 21. Now if there's any significance behind the 21, I'm not sure. But here's his armada. So we know now that we are lighting our own path. That we have been here before, that this has been done before. Why do we keep repeating ourselves? We'll go up that hill in a moment. Seabird's nest. Of a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Falling to the ground as the seabirds earlier fell to the ground. Do they share the same biblical importance? Are they actually beyond him, knowing what they need to know? If you've been playing this game like I suggested, by now you'll have finished your whiskey, and you'll have smoked your cigar. And while your consumables are gone, your interest in what will happen is only ever so much greater.
When Paul keeled over dead on the road to Damascus, they resuscitated him by hitting him in the chest with stones gathered by the roadside. He was lifeless for 21 minutes, certainly long enough for the oxygen levels in his brain to have decreased and caused hallucinations and delusions of transcendence. I'm running out of painkillers, and the moon has become almost unbearably bright.
Dead for 21 minutes, 21 letters. Numerology is frequent in great literary works. Did I just attribute Dear Esther to a great literary work? Yes.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we'll intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and casts parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
From this point on, I will speak no more.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection. Bent back like a nail, like a hangnail, like a drowning man clung onto the wheel, drunk and spiraled, washed onto the lost shore under a moon as fractured as a shattered wing. We cleave, we are flight and suspended, these wretched painkillers, this forming constant. I will take flight. I will take flight. I have dredged these waters for the bones of the hermit, for the traces of Donnelly, for any sign of Jakobsen's flock, for the empty bottle that would incriminate him. I have scoured this stretch of motorway 21 times, attempting to recreate his trajectory, the point when his heart stopped dead and all he saw was the moon over the Sanford Junction. He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all, and it was not his fault. It was the converging lines that doomed him. This is not a recorded natural condition. The gulls do not fly so low over the motorway and cause him to swerve. The paint scored away from his car in lines like an infection, making directly for the heart. I have run out of places to climb. I will abandon this body and take to the air. Dear Esther, I have burned the cliffs of Damascus. I have drunk deep of it. My heart is my leg, and a black line etched on the paper all along this boat without a bottom. You are all the world like a nest to me. Eggs unbroken form like fossils, come together that send small black flowers to the air. From this infection, hope. From this island, flight. From this grief, love. Come back.
Alright, guys. This was Undrallio's Backlog, and that was Dear Esther. Thank you for experiencing this with me. This is the most somber experience you'll ever have with me. I promise you, my next video will be filled with fucks. Wow. Let's go play this game. Till next time, I'm Cody. See ya.